Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, can the Nets improve their defense in time for the playoffs? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro Premium community, and also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com, which is on its way. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So last night I watched the game. I watched bits and pieces of the Nets game against the Miami Heat. And first of all, before I even talk about the game, I've been noticing that Jimmy Butler has not been playing a lot of the games for the Miami Heat, and I don't know why. I don't know, maybe he's injured or whatever it is. But for whatever reason, he's not been playing. So I guess we got to figure out why Jimmy Butler's not playing. But anyway, going into this season, there was this buzz around the Nets, right? But it was the buzz around New York, really. But the buzz around the Nets was the big return of Kevin Durant, given the fact that the last time we saw KD healthy, or last time we saw KD playing basketball, was in the 2018-2019 season in the finals with the Golden State Warriors against the Toronto Raptors. Came back and then he ruptures his Achilles tendon, and that was it. We hadn't seen him then. So we hadn't seen Kevin Durant play basketball for quite a long time. Going into the season, looking at the fact that the Nets had some very good young pieces, Spencer Dinwiddie and these guys, Jared Allen, and some of these pieces that they had there. And then also with the acquisition of Kyrie Irving and then adding KD, a lot of people had some big expectations for the Nets coming into the season, saying, listen, we think that the Nets could be one of the top contenders in the Eastern Conference to compete with the Milwaukee Bucks, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Miami Heat, and the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. So we thought that was what we were expecting. Then KD came back, and the questions we were asking ourselves was, would Kevin Durant be the same player that he was in years prior? And when he came back, some people had some questions about him, including me. But thus far, Kevin Durant has returned in full form for the season. Think about this. After not playing basketball for over a year, KD's averaging 31.2 points per game, getting you 7.2 rebounds and 5.8 assists, shooting 54% from the field, 47.5% from the three-point line, and 86.5% from the free throw line, and also getting you 1.5 blocks per game. So Kevin Durant in 13 games playing 36 minutes per game, and he's played 13 games already. Kevin Durant is his old self, man. Mr. Efficient. He's looking like, the Kevin Durant of old, the regular season MVP, the finals MVP, Kevin Durant. He's scoring at such an efficient rate. If I look at his attempts per game, Kevin Durant is attempting less than 20 shots a game. He's attempting 19.5, making 10.5, and basically averaging 30 points per game, over 30 points per game with less than 20 shots a game. Is just astonishing, the level of efficiency that Kevin Durant plays with. Now, while KD was doing his thing and the Brooklyn Nets were, doing their thing and playing well, although they weren't playing exceptionally well, what happened? Kyrie Irving went AWOL. He disappeared, and no one knew where Kyrie Irving went. Some people said he was bothered by some of the things that were happening in the world. No one knew. He just disappeared, and there were questions surrounding Kyrie. Then the Brooklyn Nets, according to some people like Charles Barkley and others, Stephen A. Smith and others, felt like they went out there to get James Harden, who was unhappy with the Houston Rockets. They got him as an insurance policy. The minute they traded for James Harden, they traded away some good pieces, which I'm going to get to here. Some people immediately put them in the Eastern Conference Finals, or some people put them in the finals, and some people even had them as favorites to win the NBA championship. I was one of the few that said, listen, I don't think that this team is, I don't think that they're going to be better, or that they're better currently than the Lakers and the Clippers. Why? Because the Lakers and the Clippers can score at a very high rate, right? However, these two teams are better at defense, especially the Lakers, because the Lakers have a head coach, Frank Vogel, who is known as a defensive coach. He's a defensive guy. He's a defensive mind. And it's no surprise that the Lakers are in the top 5 in defense, but they're also one of the top offensive teams in the NBA as well. So they're two-dimensional team. They can play on both sides of the court, not just score. right? The Clippers are the same way. The Clippers have some very good, and the Lakers have some good individual defenders. Anthony Davis, who I think possibly should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. He didn't win it, but they have AD, they have LeBron, who's been a multiple-time All-First Defensive Player of the Year. And when he wants to play defense, he can, even at his advanced age of 36 years old. But if you look at the Brooklyn Nets, however, their stars, from the questions that I had was, yes, their stars can score, but a lot of them do the same thing, which is score. KD can protect the rim here and there. He can shot block here and there, but he's not going to be a defensive stalwart like a Dwight Howard or somebody like JaVale McGee or, one of these guys, like great rim protector. That's not KD's game. KD is a scorer primarily. He can make plays. He can pass the ball, but he's a scorer primarily. So I was looking at the Nets, these stars that they brought in. I'm looking at them like a lot of these guys pretty much do the same thing, more or less. Yes, James Harden can distribute the ball. He's kind of like a point guard that can score a bunch of points, and he can go out there and he can get you buckets, but he's not a great defensive player. He's not a good two-way player. Neither is Kyrie and neither is KD. Let's just be honest. If we're talking players that can play individual man-to-man defense, leave him on an island and tell him, go check this guy. I don't think that these guys are that type of player. Now, some people felt like, oh, man, you're hating on the Nets and, the Brooklyn Nets. What's the issue? You sound like you're scared. Nobody's scared. We're talking about, can this team play defense? And people in the beginning were, why are you coming down on the Nets? And then what happened? They came out and they dropped 2 games to the Cavs. One game, they gave up 150 points, 147 points. That's absurd. You can't give up that many points in a game. It's way too much. Then they lost the second game. And then last night, they finally got a win. But it was against the Miami Heat, a shorthanded Miami Heat, and all of their stars played. Now, listen, in my opinion, I think the Nets are not playing great defense right now. They're not playing good enough defense to say if the playoffs were to start next week, they would go in there and start beating teams, unless they want to outscore teams. The Nets are giving up 117 points per game. Scoring, what are they scoring per game? The Nets are scoring 120. So basically, the Nets are just trying to outscore you. It's not like as if they're playing this great defense. To me, if they couldn't stop the Cavs, they can't stop teams like this. How are they going to deal with teams like the Boston Celtics or the Philadelphia 76ers, like the Joel Embiids of the world? They have no one that can deal with these guys. DeAndre Jordan is not the answer, right? The thing is, the Nets need to improve their defense come playoff time, because in the playoffs, the game slows down. Teams are going to be able to study film and really plan for you. Then they're going to start. They will start taking things away. Another thing I've noticed is that James Harden's production has dropped considerably now with Kyrie Irving back in the lineup, right? I think the 2 primary scorers on this team are now Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And Kevin Durant is doing it in a very efficient way. So is Kyrie, because Kyrie's shooting. Kyrie's shooting. He's been extremely efficient. He's shooting over 52% from the field, and he's shooting over 43% from the 3. So he's been extremely efficient. It's just that, this team needs to focus on defense. Scoring is not their problem. Defense is. Will they be ready? Will they be able to get their defense ready in time for the playoffs? I don't know. Can they do it? Yes. Will they do it? I have no idea. So the question the question to you guys is real simple. Do you think that the Nets will be able to improve enough on the defensive end of the ball by the time the playoffs come around? Or do you think that they won't be able to do it? Or do you think that it's not going to matter at all, that they're going to win games regardless? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.